Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to In the Blue Corner, the Wednesday night edition. With me, your host, Joseph Luzza, here in Bangkok. And
Chris Beach here from the Australian Football Heartland here in Melbourne, Australia. Good evening, everybody.
is the Heartland Q? Leafy Q?
Well, yes, if you want to be more specific, but we're talking big cities here, like you are, Joe, with Melbourne and Bangkok lining up once again.
That's all right. And I see you're a solo man tonight.
Yes, I just thought to
Just
myself, Yep, I'll get it for you. Here it
just
is.
don't crack the can and make it run down your thing like he does on that TV commercial, Beachy. We'd like to get most of it in your mouth. Anyway, um, so Chris and I were having a bit of a discussion off air about our weeks. First of all, we'll talk about our magnificent victory in Western Australia, and I'm sure Vince and Steve went through it on Monday night. Vince actually went to the game, and he can probably tell you a few stories because Beachy, it sounded like there was more Carlton supporters than West Coast supporters there at one stage.
Yes, that is correct, Joe. I mean, I was watching this at home, with on TV like myself, and at various points, I was hearing the woof come through the TV much louder than the West Coast supporters throughout the entire game, and it was a great sound to hear because
Oh,
anytime
yeah.
you drown out West Coast in their home crowd, in their home state rather, then you're doing something right.
Yes. And good evening, Goz. I would have, well, these are your words, Goz. I would have attended if your parole was approved. I didn't know you were a Collingwood supporter. Maybe that ankle bracelet has something to do with it. Anyway, and here we have Gina. Good evening, Gina. Yeah, the WA supporters were awesome. But anyway, so Beachy, you were saying off air we haven't beaten them in nearly a decade. Is that anywhere or just in WA?
Well, okay, so let me put this into context for you. We haven't beaten them in Victoria
Yeah.
since you know who was coaching us. That was 2014. Now, we haven't beaten them in WA since before we left Subiaco Oval. And who
Oh,
was
yeah.
coach again? You know who.
Mickey Mouse?
Yes.
Same initials?
Same initials.
Same initials, Mickey Mouse. I actually, digressing, I went to see the first ever match of Carlton in WA. I was conveniently there for work, and we actually won. But it was quite funny because there was only about four of us there. There weren't that many. Like we were in the outer, and we got pelted with beer cans and soft drink cans after the game. Oh, bloody Victorians, go home! Bloody go home! But anyway, it was good. Good evening,
Tanya.
Tanya. How are you today? Great win on Sunday. Yes, you know, I I actually was. I know they're all danger games, and you can't say, oh, this week's a danger game and then next week's a danger game because it's the AFL, so they're all danger games. I was actually I was more confident against St Kilda, but I was actually confident that we'd do well this last Sunday. I think, I think under I'll just hold my thought there for a minute. What is up with some of these Carlton supporters on some of these so-called Carlton sites? They're just bag players. I mean, I just don't get it. I mean, sure, I don't like Jack Nunes, but if Jack Nunes is doing a good job, well, he's doing a good job. But poor Plowman, yeah, he makes mistakes. And yeah, maybe he's not our first choice backman. And yeah, maybe if Marchbank and McGovern were fit, he wouldn't get a game. But he's in there. I mean, he's trying his hardest. It's not like he goes out there to screw up. I mean, Jesus Christ. And I was working during the game, and I was just sort of flicking in between like I'll use an old term, the wireless, the radio, but it was on the internet, and
Yep.
and
Yep.
and Facebook, and like in the first quarter, we're like 30 odd points up, and people are going, "Oh, this bloke's not playing well, and this not playing well," and then we have our laps in the second quarter, and they're all going, "Oh, here we go again," Let's gift them things, and then in the third quarter, when we start, it's neck and neck, and then the last quarter we kicked away. People are still, our game plan's flawed. And we bloody won. I mean, Collingwood just got over the line against North. They won. It's 4 points. What's wrong with you people? I don't know. What's your take, Chris?
That's actually a great call, Joan. Before I elaborate more on my thoughts on that, I'm going to put my hand up right now and say I have been known to be one of those ploughman go afters or those ploughman bashes, because it's very easy for someone like some to do, and because they all want everyone to be doing their job properly, they want everyone to be smashing everybody. Anyway, my thoughts on this now. So you're right. You have publicly come out and said it is public knowledge with you that you do not like Jack Newnes.
I do not like him.
But here's the thing: you've also come up and said, "Yep, he's done his job perfectly. He's done his job properly." You put your hand up. So look, it just continues to happen week after week. Just like there are people out there from time to time who say Down needs to come in. Down needs to come in. Who are you dropping?
You're going to drop someone.
Who are you dropping? Because our midfield is stacked. You have Cripps, you have Walsh, you have Chera, you have Kennedy, you have Hewitt, and you've got two winners that might be rotating in and out each time.
Yeah. Goz, not only Goz, but anyone out there, feel free to ask any questions, or feel free to make comments. I mean, this is your show. Chris and I are just here. Maybe what we'll start doing, Chris, is we'll probably start getting a few of our loyal viewers to come on every so often and give their 10 cents worth. I mean, look, when I was younger, yes, I bagged players. I don't think anyone can ever say I've never bagged anyone, right? We all do it, and we get frustrated. But I guess as you get a bit older, I mean, hang on, Goz has asked me something in a minute, but I'll answer that. I'll answer your question in a minute, Goz. Why do I hate? It's not hate. Anyway, yes, we've all bagged players, but I think as you get a bit older, you tend to get a bit more tolerant, and you think. Now, to answer your question, Goz, it's not that I hate Jack Newnes. What my problem with Jack Newnes was, and is to a degree, is that when he came to Carlton, he'd played approximately 130 AFL games. And we had to quote Brendan Bolton, we had a lot of green shoots. And I just thought for someone who'd played 130 games, he did not show any leadership or consistency that would encourage the younger players. So that's been my problem, guys. Really up until this year, he's only ever been known at Carlton for one thing, and that was for that goal after the siren, right?
Sorry, Joe, if I could just cut in for a minute, which is the first time I've seen it happen in my lifetime, by the way.
Oh, okay. Oh no, I saw Sticks Kernahan get one and miss one, but that was my problem with Jack Newnes, was that he'd played over 100 games, and these guys had played 20 and 30 games. He's making the same mistakes. I don't know if that was the real Jack Newnes. All I know is that I have a very good friend who is a St Kilda supporter, and he said to me, he goes, I know you, Joe. I'll guarantee you'll be bagging and hating him like us St Kilda supporters. I said, oh, no, Rich, let's give him a chance. And after a couple of years, I went, yeah, you're right. And he said, I told you. But to his credit, this year he's come out. Yes, he hasn't played 18 consistent games, but neither has Patrick Cripps. I think the only one who I could really put my hand up and say that's played 17 consistent games is Doherty. I mean,
Yeah.
man, at the beginning of the year, I was speaking to Vince, and I said to Vince, I'll be surprised if we get 12 games out of Doherty after what he'd been through, with his cancer. And I said, and if we can get maybe 6 good games out of him, that's like a new recruit. But man, that guy, I got to dips my lid. He's just been sensational. I mean, he's inspirational,
Mate,
he's kicking
mate,
goals. I mean,
mate.
he's not the captain, is he? It's just Cripper who's the
No,
captain.
it's
So
Cripper who's captain. Yeah, it's Cripper who's captain. He stepped down from the co-captaincy to focus on his health, which, to be honest, I
yeah,
don't blame him one bit for that.
well,
But
Jesus,
if I could just for one moment, I know we're going up for rounds. We're going
18.
up for the game against round 18 against Geelong, but that first goal he kicked in round 1, which I was there for. Oh, I've never heard a roar so loud, and that applause lasted about a good 90 seconds, which I think I wouldn't be surprised if there was
I was going to be a bit.
any tears
Sorry,
shed after that. That's
I was
right.
going to be. I was going to be a bit rude, Beachy. I was going to say that was pure football porn. Sorry, women, but I'm sure even the ladies
not at
enjoyed.
all.
I'm sure even the ladies enjoyed it.
If you want to do a football porn, go to the heat map with Sam Walsh between Carlton and Collingwood last year. The second time around.
Yeah. I liked it. I liked Walshy when he did that game, when there was no crowd and you hear him, he kicks a goal and you hear him go, fuck yeah.
That's the game. That's the game.
Oh, is it?
Yeah, that's the game where he's literally done the pure football porn around the middle of the ground.
And he's just sort of holding his arms out like that. But anyway, we digress. Well, let's get off the porn.
This one is an interesting comment here. Doc has to be leading our BNF. Yeah, I don't think he is leading it at the moment, but I reckon he is pushing it, in my opinion.
Yeah, because maybe that's something we can have at the end of the show to BNFs. See who's leading. Anyway, Beachy, before we get on, I think we're finished with last week's game. Good victory. We're taking it 1 week at a time, aren't we?
Of course. Yes, we are.
Of course.
Yes, we are.
We've
got another top 4 start this week.
Yes, and this week we'll all have to be on our thing. So, Chris, before we get on to selection, tell me, how's your week been? Very exciting in the legal profession?
Mate, a few people are starting to come back from holidays.
Okay.
Yeah, just the legal vacation is sort of 2 weeks in July, and then everyone.
Yeah. Does that coincide with school holidays?
Yeah, it has been known to coincide with school holidays. It was with some people still having young families. They can still get away for a bit every now and again, but then sooner or later, the school year will resume. What about you, Joe? What's it been like up in Thailand with you?
Well, it's been rather wet because I'll get back to Gina's comment, which I just put up there. It's been rather wet here because we're in the middle of our winter, which is rainy season. I say winter, it's 33 degrees today. But I had the I guess I'll call it the pleasure of going and watching Manchester United against Liverpool last night. And I was the guest of Standard Chartered, so it was very good. We had these seats. I was telling Chris before the show, if I was to buy this seat, it worked out to, what did I say? 1,025
Australian.
Yeah, 1,025 Australian dollars. And it was really funny because they divided the game into like quarters. In the first half, they had a drinks break at the 22.5-minute mark. And we saw 10 Liverpool players walk off and we thought, what the hell's going on? And then these 10 under 23s come on and we're like, what's happening here? Man United only got rid of 6. So it was a trial game and they just used, like us, the interchange system. So that was quite good. People got to see everyone. Now, Gina, People need to stop looking at stats. Completely different watching on the telly than live, so you can see all around the ground. Pressure acts are huge. I agree, Gina. There's one problem that I'm going to foresee in that. It's called fantasy football. And everyone is fascinated with this fantasy football, right? Oh, Chris Beach only got 102 points this week. He averages 116 points and he's break even. You talk to people and that's all they ever say. And even on other channels, people do. The person I'm referring to is Pommy in Oz. Man, that guy, he's in the wrong business. He's a pure statistician, and he really knows how to read the stats, right? I look at it and I think, geez, this guy must put in hours and hours and hours
and
hours of stats.
He does. He knows so much about the game as well, which is very impressive. For someone who only picked up the game only, what are we now? 22. So, in the last decade, he knows so much.
Exactly. But Chris, I only ever focus on one stat, the scoreboard. Maybe call me old school. That's it. Gina, yes. I know Gina's a man spew girl. It was so funny, because I was there and my friend who took me is a Manchester United, he's a Man United supporter, and we were in the standard chartered box who are all Liverpool. And I said to him, I'm going to wear my Chelsea top. And he said, oh, please don't. Please don't. So I refrained. But I can tell you, live on TV, if anyone's watching, I stole a Liverpool training football. So it's taking pride of place. But I'm going to go and kick the bejesus out of it later, Beachy. So that's all right.
Yeah, nice. It seems Gina was referring to Cripps had a bad game because he was not getting the 30 mark. That doesn't matter. That doesn't matter in my book because you've got other players stepping up.
Exactly. That's what I'd rather. I'd rather see people step up than every week we have the same people in the best. Cripps, Doherty, Wiedering. I want those people. I want those people to, like how good's Sauce been? Jay Sauce has been fantastic this year, and there's another guy that always is going, oh, he's too slow, he's not tall enough, can't hold down a key position. Big deal. Now we're going to get on to the selection of the team, only because I saw this rumour too. There are loud rumours that
doing the round.
Yeah, he's not going to play. Well, does anyone know why? Did he get injured? Was he injured last week? Chris and I tried to look up Carlton's injury list, and it's fantastic that the club last updated the injury list on the 5th of July, 8 days ago. I don't know what their social media team does, but I didn't see him with an injury unless he's done something at home.
Well, to my understanding, from the injury list that I saw after the game against West Coast, you had Nunes and Wiedering listed both with thighs. Now, Wiedering, as far as I'm concerned, pulled up okay. He played out the game. Yeah, he played out the game, which was good. But Nunes, as far as I was concerned, was the one that was subbed out for Will Hayes, who, in my opinion, actually did quite well in his 10-minute period when he came on. So, look, let's just see how it plays out. There might be more to it later this week, but we'll see how it goes.
Yeah. Lana asked, where's Sauce's best position? In the 22. That's a bloody good question because maybe he's the third forward because he can mark. Yeah. I mean, he plays. I hate this. He plays big for his size. I don't know what that means, but he can take a contested mark. Yeah. Okay.
Let's take that out of the equation for a minute because he competes around the ground, and we saw last week he was going up in the ruck against someone that's pretty bloody bigger than him, and he was still able to beat Nick Nat in a ruck contest, who still needs to work on his fitness, by the way, because he's been out how long?
Yeah, he's been out a while. But I guess Jesus, well, maybe you put him, maybe as the third, sort of play him as the third tall in the forward line, and pinch hits in the ruck around the, in the forward line when because I mean, let's assume Pitternet is not fit yet, and Tom De Konning's probably a couple of years away from being a good ruckman. I mean, he competes.
Yep.
So maybe, that's what we do. I don't know. I mean, geez, it's a good question. Who asked it? Gina.
No, Lana asked where's Saucon the best.
Yeah. Yeah. Lana, yeah. So Lana, where do you think his best position is? I'd be interested to hear. Goz, sorry, mate. Beachy signed a contract within the blue corner. He's signed a 10-year, $11 million contract. I'm sure Carlton will be willing to pay him out, but at the moment, I'm sorry, guys, he's contracted to this channel. What's this one? Lana, Jack Silvani's a gun. Plays with more passion.
That's fine. That's true. But we're asking what's his best position.
Yeah.
That's what we're asking, Lana.
Yeah, Lana and Gina, I know they're big fans. Where would you play him? If you're the coach, where are you playing him, Lana? Probably in all 18 positions.
We're not bagging Jesus because he's one of our favourite players, but we just want to know the people's thoughts. Where is his best position?
Yeah.
As he starts on the half forward flank, and then he chops out TDK in the ruck.
Yeah. Yeah, that's right. I mean, TDK will be a good ruckman eventually. Oh, there you go. Lana said, half forward, the boy can mark. Yeah, he can. And he can compete, and he can take the ruck around the well, see, I guess we're lucky because in the forward line, we could probably use either Harry McKay or Mackay, whatever you want to call him, Charlie Curnow or Jack in the ruck. So, that's not bad. So let's get on to this week. Oh, hello.
Vince is in.
Newsflash. All the way from Perth. Oh, no, he's not all the way from Perth.
No, but the party boy of Perth is back in Melbourne.
Yes, back in Melbourne, but it was a wonderful trip over there in WA, and it was nice to get away for a few days with Rocco and his girlfriend from the Jumper Punch, and Tanya and I had a nice time as well with them, and also Luke Humphreys, the race caller, who I managed to get a gig up at Gloucester Park on Friday night, the Trots. So he called the last leg of the quaddie there, Chris. I hope you got onto it.
Hey, Beachy.
I knew about it.
Hey, Beachy, we've been on. Vince has been on 1 minute, and he's dropped this name and that name, and
come on! You call that name dropping, do you? Just because I tell you who I was away with?
Come on, Rocco's an international superstar.
Yes, that he's very quickly becoming that, I've discovered. And he certainly did a great job in rustling up the crowd to get right behind the big wolf every time Adam Sard kicks the ball. So that's catching on all around the country now, I reckon.
That's the next one will be Adelaide, but we'll get to that later.
Yeah, well, we've got still another couple of interstate trips, one in Adelaide and the very following week in Brisbane. So you've got 2 interstate trips in a row if you want to go on those, Chris.
Well, I've booked Adelaide, so we're all good.
Yep.
Oh, have you?
Yep.
Well, that's good.
Well, that's
thanks for joining us, Vince.
My pleasure to accept your invitation.
We haven't got the ins and outs. Now, before the show, I told Vince we may not be on at 5:30. Chris, our discussion, I've got 36% battery left, so I hope it'll get me through the next half hour.
5:30? Would you believe 8:30 over here?
It's 5:24 here, Vince.
Yes.
Brad has asked, Gov in or out? Good question, Brad. I've been to so many websites. I don't even know if he's fit. My viewpoint, if he's fit, I guess he plays against Geelong. But then again, who do you drop? So
Exactly.
let's go through this. Vince, you were at the game last week.
Yeah.
Hang on, he's just having his cocoa. Is that right?
I'm having a lovely cup of cafe latte.
Oh, here we go. Is it from the Melbourne Roasting Company?
Of course.
Of
And
course.
hello to Brandon
Number one.
Bevilacqua if he's watching. I know he
Yes,
watches
the number
my
one.
show with Steve on a Sunday or a Monday.
Hang on.
In fact, don't forget it's Monday again this week.
Yep. Guys, we'll get to that question.
We'll get to that. We'll get to that.
We'll just
What is this
worry about
obsession with Paddy Dow? I can't.
I don't know. But let's get to the ins
To
and the
me,
outs.
it's pretty clear. He doesn't belong in
Right.
our midfield. I don't think
Well-
he's part of our long-term plans. I really don't.
He's not. And
In fact, considering all the injuries we've had, for him to have only played once this year just goes to tell you that he is last resort material for Michael Voss.
Voss
Yeah, I
seems
don't
to
know.
think that he's done. But we'll worry about that a little bit later. Let's get to discussing about Gov.
Okay.
So if Mitch McGovern is fit, do we play him?
Play him in the VFL for at least a couple of weeks.
My
Make him earn
sentiments exactly. That's my
Make him earn.
sentiments.
I think whether it's Mitch McGovern or Jack Martin or Zach Williams, I think they should all be made to earn it. So that they value it, so that they don't think that they're just an automatic walk-up start. I don't see why any of those players, regardless of their salaries, should be a walk-up start considering their form this year.
Yeah, and Lana agrees. With
And
me.
in past years.
And you can't drop Lewis Young because he's done his
Lewis
job.
Young? What are you even considering talking about dropping Lewis Young?
Well, who else are you going to drop for Mitch McGovern?
Oh, come on. No way.
No.
Lewis Young is now one of the two tall pillars in that defence. You've got Wiedering and you've got Young at fullback and centre half back. If Mitch McGovern comes in, he has to play like a half-back flank type role where he's an intercept mark, similar to a Jeremy McGovern, his brother at West Coast. That's the sort of role he's got to play. And really, currently, really the question should be, do you play McGovern or do you play Plowman? That seems to be more the matchup.
That's what I was going to say. If you're going to drop anybody, right?
You drop Plowman.
Yeah, you drop Plowman.
Yeah.
Just put up Lewis Young. It was just
Young.
Oh, geez, don't jump down my throat. It was just getting you guys fired up, and it did.
No, we know what you were trying to do, Joe. You were trying to create a discussion, which is great. We just agreeing.
But in all
you
seriousness,
don't drop Young.
No, you don't drop Young. I saw it today on some site. Someone said, "Oh, let's drop Young and Plowman." I'm like,
Young's been one of the finds of the year.
But you've got
it's not the recruit of the season.
I know that's George Hewitt for us, I think.
Well, it's between.
Well, they're two very different styles of player, but I think they've both been a fantastic find. To be honest, I think Young has been a revelation, and he's really held that defence together in the absence of Wiedering, in fact, in recent weeks.
Yeah, I agree with Brad Turner. I'm sick of the crap that Plowman gets on Facebook. Let's face it, people. He is not, I repeat, he is not an A grader, right? We know this. I know he was drafted at number 5 by GWS. I know he was drafted by, I was going to say Serge Silvani, Stephen Silvani, right? Yes, we all get it. But just because you get drafted high doesn't make you a champion. Richard Tambling got drafted before bloody Roughhead and Franklin, right, at number 2 or something. He was never a champion, but he does a job. Okay, he makes mistakes. Don't tell me that Liam Jones didn't make mistakes. I remember when he first came in, when he got the ball, oh no, he's going to turn it over, and that's what I think. Go on, Vince.
Look, I think you've got to acknowledge that Plowman does make the odd howler, and you know, quite often that might turn into an opposition goal. you take the good with the bad with him. He is able to play on talls as well as smalls, unlike McGovern, who's very much just a player who will play on a tall forward. But I think it's a healthy situation that we now find ourselves in, with players coming back from injury, having to compete with players who have established themselves in that team, who are in good form, and they really have to be pushed out either through a drop-off of form or outstanding form by the ones that are challenging for their position in the VFL. I mean, there are lots of players currently playing in the VFL who are playing very good, consistent football. And yes, Paddy Dow is one of them, but they are struggling to get a game in the seniors because the seniors players are holding up their form. And that includes players like Cottrell and Nunes and others. Maybe not so much last weekend, but Nunes in previous weeks. So, these players are not just going to give up their spots easily. Lockie O'Brien's another one that could probably come under scrutiny in the last couple of weeks. Hasn't done all that well. But look, they're going to have their ups and downs. I think Stocker is a chance of, challenging for a position in the back line, but so far hasn't been able to force his way in.
Another one.
So when Williams and Jack Martin and all these players come back, well, they're going to have to fight for their positions. It's a good situation to be in.
I was just about to say that. It's good that these people are putting pressure on, because that's what you want. I mean, imagine if we had people struggling in the ones and then our reserves, which has happened for us probably for the last 4 years, because there's been no one to step up. We've got to.
Let's face it. In previous years, we've had players that probably should have been dropped that weren't dropped purely because there was no one else putting pressure on their position.
Now, Brad's raised it. Hang on, Brad's raised a good point.
Yep.
So if Pito's right to go, does he go? Does he go
straight in?
I think he means go straight. Well, maybe Brady might be coking up in the locker rooms. I don't know. You might know him a bit better than that. But
I think there's a couple of players that probably, because of the nature of their position and the I guess the credits they've got in the bank, if you want to call it that, they go straight back in. And we saw that last week with Wiedering. Now, he looked a little bit rusty to me, Wiedering. But nevertheless, he was always going to come straight back in. You don't put him in the VFL. Not for being out for 2 or 3 weeks or however long he was out. McGovern's been out for most of the season. So when you miss 14, 15 weeks, you've got to come back through the VFL. I'm sorry, you've just been out for way too long. But Pitnet,
same with Williams.
I would say Pitnet probably 1 match, maybe 2 tops.
In the reserves?
And if he's okay in the reserves, then he comes straight in.
Yeah. I think that because they've been out for like 8 and 10 weeks.
Yeah.
I mean, you got to get them accustomed. You can't. I mean, if we're playing North Melbourne, but even then, you can't say that in these sort of thing. So, Chris, you mentioned that Nunes was subbed last week. So, under the AFL protocol, does that mean he has to miss this week? I always thought that was a rule, but Chris,
that's only for concussion. I think that's only for concussion, isn't it, Chris?
Yeah. If you're medically subbed out for concussion, then you have to miss the next
following week.
I think it's the next game.
Okay.
But
Brad's agreed with
what was it? Was it a corky or something like that?
Yeah, it was a thigh, from my understanding.
Yeah,
it was a thigh, and it was the same with Wiedering apparently as well. But from what I understand, Wiedering played out the game now.
The game,
I think you were there, so you'd have a better idea than me. But that's what I had.
Wiedering definitely played the game out. It was Nunes who came off, and geez, I tell you what, young Will Hayes that played his first game for the
I
club
was just going to mention
really
him.
did well, getting 5 possessions in about 5 minutes. I mean, if he can keep that up, he'll have 120 possessions for a full game. But
Exactly.
I didn't know he played at the Western Bulldogs. He played 11 or 12.
Yeah.
I didn't know.
He was on the Dogs list for a few years, but never really broke in. Funnily enough, like Lewis Young, he made his debut against us, but he couldn't get himself consistently in the Dogs once.
Jeez,
And,
one stage there we had about 6 players from GWS. Now we've got about 4 or 5 from the Bulldogs. What's going on with our club?
what do you mean 4 or 5? What are you talking?
Well, you got Jordan Boyd.
That's okay. That's one.
Yeah.
Lewis Young
Hayes,
and Will Hayes.
And Lewis Young. Well, there you go, 3. I said 3 or 4.
And let's not forget, Jordan Boyd came from the Dogs reserves, right? He played with Footscray. But Young and
I'd hardly say that's rivaling how many players we used to get from GWS, Joe. I think if you want me to show you a list, there's well over a dozen, probably more like 15 or so.
Oh yeah, we had some spuds.
Yeah,
that's for sure.
Young actually made their debuts against us. Made their debuts for the Dogs in the AFL against us. So,
well, anyway, look, I just thought Will Hayes had an impact when he came on, and he was very noticeable and almost scored a goal.
Yeah, exactly.
Vince, could he be our new permanent winger? Do you think on the right hand side? Okay.
Is he right footer? He's right footer, isn't he?
He's a right footer, yeah.
Yeah. He seems to kick around on his left too. Look, I don't know. I think it'll be interesting to see who ends up nailing down that right wing position, whether it's Nunes, whether it's Hayes, whether they try someone else on that right wing. I'm not sure. Maybe they could even bring Doherty up the field and play on that right wing if Zach Williams needs to be filled in defence. That's always an option as well. On the left wing, of course, you got Lockie O'Brien, potentially Zach Fisher, others that are left footers on that left wing. So I think we're looking really good from a team balance point of view, and we're now seeing some options come in where where more than one player is competing for a spot in the team.
Yeah. So that brings me to the selections for this week. So let's put some question marks next to Nunes because we don't know, thank you to the Carlton Football Club, how bad his thigh injury is.
Well, look, why don't we assess it based on him being fit? Would you keep him in the team or would you drop him? That's the question.
Yeah, well, if he's fit.
Okay, because I don't think he had a very good game, to be honest. But
he might have been injured from the start, Vince. We don't know. These players
Not sure.
Are you dropping him then, Vince?
No, I'm not saying I'm dropping him. No. I think in a 63-point win, which is our biggest win for how long, Chris? Have to be ages.
Since we played St Kilda, I think in 2014 or 16.
Yeah, it could be.
It's a long time ago, and it was our first win over the Eagles for 8 years. So, I think in a win like that, you've got to be careful dropping players because really they've all played their part, really. I think you've got to look at who's available to come in and what role they're going to play and then assess, do you leave someone out who's not really performing in that same spot? I don't know that there's anyone available. Is anyone coming back this week?
Well, the rumour is McGovern, apparently, but
he will have to. I'm telling you now, Chris, I would be absolutely astounded if he doesn't come back through the VFL at least for a week or two.
Vince, I don't disagree. Trust me, I do not disagree. I'm just saying the rumour is it's McGovern.
Well, available is one thing and ready to play. The question is at what level, and I think most common sense people would say he's got to come back through the VFL.
That's the question now.
Yeah. For him to come back against the top team on the ladder after being out for 15 or 16 weeks is a massive gamble. Yeah. And if he comes back too early and plays at the high speed of AFL versus the the lesser speed of VFL, he could injure that hamstring again and then be out for the rest of the year.
And as someone that witnessed a hamstring injury of his against Essendon in 2021, that was a bad hamstring injury because he had to get carried off from memory. So just like I said, the rumor is McGovern, but we want to wait. And what I'm saying is I want to wait and see what actually happens with that. Since we're Saturday night, the side will get named tomorrow, so we'll find out with confirmation then.
Yeah.
Okay.
Look, if anything, based on what I saw of the VFL result against
Port Melbourne,
I think you'll find that Stocker is right up there in the. He's knocking on the door for us for another game. If anything, maybe he comes in for Nunes if Nunes is not right.
So Gina's probably right. You've got to look at the team we're playing. They got two best forwards in the mids. I don't think we're worried about the back line because we've sort of got Lewis Young and Wiedering. So one will take Big Boy Hawkins and the other one will take Jeremy Cameron. So I think we're right there. I think our mids are okay. We've got Cripps, we've got Walsh, we've got Hewitt, we've got Walsh.
Chera and Kennedy.
Yeah, they
those
can run
five, the Fab Five there, Cripps, Walsh, Hewitt, Chera and Kennedy, that five, it really works for us. It's only when we lose one out of the team and have to substitute them with someone else that we look a little weaker for the omission. But when they're all together, they tend to fire up and really play well. So if they're all in the team this week, I would expect them to do very well against Geelong.
And let's not forget, they're missing Tom Stewart. That is
the really big one as far as I'm concerned. If Tom Stewart was playing, it would be so much harder to penetrate that defence because he's such a sensational intercept mark. But without him there, I think that weakens their defence quite a lot. And this will be the first game that they will be playing without Tom Stewart away from their home ground in Geelong. So I think you'll find that the MCG will test them out. It's a far bigger ground than GMHBA Stadium.
I put this up before. Good evening to Johnny. I don't know Johnny, but welcome to the channel. Our midfield is solid. Our midfield is solid. Our forward is solid. Our backline's doing a great job. I agree. I think, but what happens every week, we tend to seem to drop one small forward and bring in another one. So
Vince, that's the other one. Matthew Owies, the last couple of weeks has been sort of a laid out one, I think, after he'd even run through the banner against St Kilda. And then last weekend, I think he was withdrawn late. And that's why Will Hayes ended up getting a gig. I think Durden, played well when he really needed to last weekend. I was concerned that he hadn't really done much in recent weeks, but he showed his worth. And young Motlop, he's another one. Kicked 3 goals against St Kilda. Probably a bit quiet last Sunday, but I'd keep him in the team. He looks like a little live wire.
He's only 18 years old. Give him a bloody break. Some people.
Oh, look, the young 18-year-olds tend to come in and out, having a taste of it, and then maybe get back into the VFL and get a bit of form.
What about Josh Honey and O'Brien? I thought.
Well, he's the one that I thought of that has been struggling to play at the level. I think Josh Honey might need a bit more time at VFL level, and that's where maybe if Nunes is fit, maybe he's the one that will miss out in favour of Stocker.
Yeah. So so let's assume Nunes is fit. Do we think Honey's out? O'Brien's out and Stocker in?
Yeah, look, I'd play
Stocker.
I think Stocker's been very, very consistent and deserves his opportunity. And Honey's not doing enough to warrant keeping his spot. If you keep playing him without doing much at all, I think you're sending the wrong message. But as I said, they might decide that, a winning formula is a good formula and give them all, their spots again this week. I don't know. We're up against Geelong and they're not top of the ladder for nothing. They're really getting it together this year.
Okay,
So
so
everyone,
we're all
and I mean everyone, needs to perform this weekend.
And let's
Okay, so
not
we're all
forget too. Sorry, Joe.
Go on.
Let's not
No, go on,
forget
Chris.
too. The Tours are playing Geelong at Princes Park before the AFL boys play at the MCG.
That's
So,
at 2:30
an
at
idea.
2:30 at Icon Park on Saturday afternoon, I believe.
That is correct. It is a 2:35 start.
There you go.
You'll be there, Beachy?
I will attempt to be, but I've got a housewarming for a mate of mine nearby before going to the MCG first. So
What he really means,
Ah.
Joe, what he really means is he's got to torch the place. He's an arsonist. That's what he means
well, hang
by
on, Vince, you're my go-to guy for the stuff.
So we all agree. McGovern not playing because he's not fit.
No.
Needs a bit of match practice.
He
We
needs to be
think
match fit.
Pitino won't play because he
Same
probably
thing.
needs it. Blow the because we think Nunes will play. We think, but who knows?
Yeah.
Well,
And
if he's injured and Honey is deemed to be not warranted to keep his spot, you might see a couple of changes. You might see, Stocker and
Paddy
Setterfield.
Dow.
Setterfield or Paddy Dow or someone like who knows. But
maybe even Will Hayes might get promoted.
Or Matt Owies might come back for Honey. You see, you might get one forward in for another, and Stocker might take Nunes' place and play on the wing. Or if he plays in defence, you shift Doherty up on the wing.
So they might say, Hayes, we'd like to look at you for that 10-minute period, have an on-field performance. Now, I'm not saying that's going to happen, but look, there's always a possibility.
Well, don't be surprised if you see Hayes omitted, but then re-engaged as the medical sub again.
Which has been known to happen.
Yeah, that's what's happened with Cottrell about 3 or 4 times this year. He's played as the medical sub, then they drop him, and then they pick him again as the medical sub. So every week, if you notice, there's always one more omission than there is an inclusion. And that's because they have to, drop the medical sub and then pick another one, which could be the same one as last week, or it could be a different one. Yeah.
Now, guys, we've probably done that to death. Earlier in the show, Gina asked a question about Liam Jones, and I did a post, and apparently Carlton are going to ask for compensation if he comes back. My question is, why would he go to Essendon? Why wouldn't he come back to Carlton? So, and to be honest, if he wants to go play for Essendon, go play for Essendon. He's 30-something.
I'll be frank with you. I think his days, because of the circumstances, I think his days at Carlton are finished. And we've moved on, and we've now got other players playing the system that Michael Voss wants. He hasn't been part of that. He hasn't been part of the team meetings. He hasn't been part of pre-season. He hasn't been part of anything. So as much as
good luck to him.
As much as I respect Liam Jones for the stance that he took, if he now wants to come back and play AFL, he probably has to do that by putting himself in the draft and getting picked up, by
the scum.
Whoever else is interested.
Yeah,
but at 30, he'll be 30. I think he'll be 32, if I'm not mistaken, by February next year. So by the time next year starts, he'll be, he won't be a spring chicken anymore. Let's put it that way.
Yeah, no, exactly. And the pro-Carlton supporter in me is saying, mate, why would you want to go to Essendon considering their history with needles as well? But
good point.
But putting that to one side for a moment, if he wants to go to Essendon, good on him. Because as far as I'm concerned, Vince, you said it yourself. Our top 2 defenders at the club at the moment are number 23, Jacob Wiedering, and number 33, Lewis Young.
Yeah.
As for compensation, Gina, they're going to say, well, you got an extra draft pick, so maybe they could give us a Mars bar and a packet of chips and another can of Solo for Beachy.
Joe's solution to everything is a Mars bar and a packet of chips, if you notice, Chris. He says it nearly every week.
That's my go-to snack, Vince.
It must be popular there in Bangkok, Joe.
Oh, Mars bars are very popular. I'll send. What I must do next week, I will buy the chip flavors for you because I've never seen them in my life. Yeah, we have salted octopus.
Dear me.
We got barbecue prawn. We've got pad kapal, which is a spicy dish here. I'll buy them for you. And you just
Don't you have things like barbecued prawn heads and prawn tails and witchetty grubs or whatever you have? I don't know.
Yeah.
Anyway,
Richmond may pick up Jones. Good luck to him. Good
look,
luck.
I
My
think
question is, why would they?
you've got to be careful with aging stars. I mean, yes, they can certainly add some value because of their experience. You know, my mind casts back to when Alistair Clarkson recruited Brian Lake from the Western Bulldogs over to Hawthorn. That seemed to be a very successful move. But I don't think Brian Lake was, you know,
that
necessarily
old.
32 either. I think
he
still
was
had
28.
a few years left in him.
He's 28.
So, and he ended up winning a Norm Smith medal. So that was a very successful one. But you've got to be very careful and make sure that they fit within the team structure and the culture, I guess, that they're the right sort of player for the culture of your club.
Brad, I love you long time, no problem. Anyway,
I love Brad Turner's sense of humour. It's fantastic.
Enough of the jokes, children. Let's get to the selection because my battery is at 22%.
Oh,
so let's get to
heaps of battery left. What are you talking about, Joe?
Well, I started 40 minutes ago with 54. So in 50 minutes, it's gone.
We'll be done in 10 minutes. So
no. So Carlton by how much, Vince?
I haven't actually tipped Carlton this week.
Just time out for a sec. What's the weather for Saturday night?
That's a good question. I have no idea. I assume cold. I assume it'll be cold. We're right in the middle of winter. I mean,
we're in the middle of.
It doesn't get any more middle of winter than the 16th of July. I mean, that is exactly dead centre of July, which is the middle month of winter. You've got June, July, and August. And right in the middle of July is Carlton and Geelong on a Saturday night at the MCG. It'll be blistering cold and probably wet and windy and raining and everything else.
Well, first of all, I've got it here in front of me. Vince, you are correct. It is going to be cold. I can tell you that right now. It is.
Yeah. Is it going to be raining and miserable or not?
It's going to be 12. That's the
12.
max. The minimum is going to be 9, and it's going to be clear.
It's going to be clear. Well, if it's clear, at least that's something. Even though it's going to be super cold and 12. What you're saying by 12 is the top temperature at about 2 or 3 in the afternoon. We're playing at 7:30 at night, so it's likely to be closer to 9 than it is 12.
Yeah, probably.
So did I hear you right, Vince? You've tipped against them?
I have. Did you? What did you just
I removed you purposely. You know, you've tipped against them.
Oh, right. Look, I sense that it's a really look. Despite our ladder position and how well we've played, and don't get me wrong, I hope I'm wrong. I said this with Steve on our show on Monday night. I hope I'm wrong. I really do, and I really hope that it becomes a battle of the forwards, because I think it'd be great to see multiple goals scored by Harry and Charlie yet again. But I don't think they'll get it all their own way like they did against a bottom of the ladder side like West Coast. This will be a very different story. They'll have to be made to earn their goals, not like some of the cheap ones that Harry got in the last quarter on Sunday. Hawkins and Cameron are quality players, and they've got a great midfield as well. So I think it'll be a fantastic game, a great battle. I do believe Geelong will end up winning by 5 goals.
Okay.
I still think it'll be a close game for a lot of it, but they might just pull away.
Jacob Wiedering has a good record against Hawkins.
Yes,
but anyway,
we've also had to come back from Perth, and we've got one less day to prepare. So, I just think. Look, it'll be a great test. Don't get me wrong; it'll be the biggest test we've had this year. I think the the only team we've played that you could say would be a potential top 4 team until now has been Fremantle, and we've played them twice. We've had 1 win and 1 loss against them. We still haven't played Brisbane or Melbourne or Geelong yet. So
save the best for last, Vince.
We've got some tough games coming up. But look, if we do happen to win this game, I think top 4 is assured. But if we don't, well, then we're going to be battling to get into that top 4.
Brad says we beat them at their shithole ground. We beat them there.
Yeah, I think a lot's changed in 2 years.
Yeah, it has.
Anyway,
mind you, that was without a crowd.
I think that was a game that was earlier in the year at Geelong, and I think we won by 2 or 3 points. It was a nail biter.
Yeah. I'm going Carlton by
run down tackle.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think Carlton by 60 points.
60? Wow.
I tell you what, so if we get that, I'll be one happy boy.
No, I agree with Vince. I think it's going to be close, but I think Geelong will probably just pip them. But stranger things have happened.
One other thing we've seen over the last 6 weeks, Joe. We've had win, then loss, then win, then loss, then win, and now maybe another loss. I don't know. It started with the Collingwood game, I think. And once we lost to them, then we won the following week. Then we lost to Richmond. Then we won again against Fremantle, I think it was. And then we lost to St Kilda.
Yep.
So then we've beaten West Coast. Will we win or lose to Geelong? I'm not sure. It'd be nice to break that trend. Eventually, you'd hope that it will be broken. Look, if we happen to beat Geelong, even though they haven't got Tom Stewart, we also haven't got a lot of players that would be automatic inclusions in our side as well. So, we would have very much earned the respect of the competition if we can knock them over. I think they've won the last, is it 6 or 7 games, Beachy?
7.
Cats? Yeah, 7.
They've won the last 7.
Are they due for a loss?
They're due for a loss, but, winning is a great habit. And some of the best teams, in the last 50 years have had big strings of wins together. So, sorry, we're boring you there, Joe. You're having a good go in the last couple of minutes.
No, I haven't been sleeping well the last couple of nights. I'm hiding the bags under my eyes. I don't know if you can hear me. I'm still suffering from the effects of COVID. I've got to go get my nose checked out. So I'm always, I can't breathe at night. I've got to sleep sitting up. And I'm addicted to this stuff called Ostrovin. It clears my nose. But
it's not that white powdery stuff.
No. That's that's only when I'm in Perth with the West Coast Eagles.
The West Coast Eagles. Oh dear. Oh
yeah.
It was a great trip. I've got to tell you, fantastic time. And if you can get to interstate games, it really is a sensational atmosphere, and the supporter groups around the country that follow Carlton are just such passionate people and such grateful people to have a game in their home state. And the West Australians have had 2 this year, a game against Freo, which we lost, and this time we made up for it by knocking over the Eagles, which gave them a lot of pleasure. Yeah. So it's the South Australians' turn next in I think 3 weeks from now, or 3 matches from now. We play Adelaide Adelaide right at the end of July on a Saturday night. So
and I'm going to that one, so I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, should be great.
One good thing is that I'm just looking at the ladder.
Yeah.
If we lose, we can only fall as low as 7th, but the Swans are in 7th place, and they are playing Fremantle in Fremantle. So we need
big game. In fact, that game happens at the same time as our game. So, looking at the live ladder, it could really flip flop at various stages that night, depending on who's in front.
It does too. It's 5 minutes difference. Our game's at 7:25 and their game's at 7:30.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense, doesn't it? That makes a real lot of sense. Makes you wonder what the AFL's doing. They're trying to confuse everybody. They're doing a sensational job.
Well, they've got two Fox Footy channels to fill, so you got to do something. Well, Vince,
just make it at the same time, for Christ's sake. God
No,
almighty. 5 minutes difference.
Right.
What's the point?
I don't know. All right, so Vince is going the Pussies by 5 goals.
5 goals.
I said the Pussies probably by 10 points. Beachy?
All right. Well, I'm going to go against the trend here in this crowd. I'm going to back us in.
Good on you, Beachy.
I'm going to back us in by 3 goals. Vince,
That's because he's a solo man. Come on, Beachy, show us your solo man.
All right, there it is.
There he is, boys.
But yeah, look, I'll
pour it all over your hairy chest there, Chris.
I'd just like to say, if there's anyone from Schweppes watching, please, Chris is available for sponsorship on this show. He'll wear a solo hat, solo t-shirt, and drink solo all through the show.
Thank you, Joe, for that.
So,
very good.
I reckon this is going to be a back and forth game. I was talking to one of my Geelong supporting mates maybe not too long ago, like within the last couple of days. He has said to me that we've usually matched up well against the Cats. That said, they are missing Tom Stewart. They do have Hawkins. They do have Cameron. They do have Dangerfield. They do have Selwood. The only
and Mitch Duncan. Don't forget him.
And Mitch Duncan.
And Guthrie. And Stengel. And a lot of other good players.
But
listen,
well, I work cut out, Beatty, but I hope you're right. I think we all hope you're right. So
on a closing note, I'm just going to put up one comment. Don't care the margin. I just want to win.
That's
couldn't
exactly
agree
right,
more.
Brett. Yep.
Couldn't agree more.
Be a very
so guys, thanks.
Be a fantastic result if we could be singing the song at the end of the game, wouldn't it?
Let's hope so. So Vince, thanks for joining us.
It's a pleasure, as always.
Don't forget, people, like and subscribe. If you've got any friends that want to join the channel, invite the Facebook page, invite them. So in the blue corner, the group. Vince, we'll see you Monday night.
No, Monday night next week. Yep.
Yeah, Monday night next week.
I'm going to be going into the studios of the Jumper Punch on Sunday night with Rocco and Paul and Mars, and they've invited me in to be their special guest this week. So can't be in 2 places at once. Apparently, that's the only time they've got available to record. So my show with Steve will have to be delayed by 24 hours, but that's okay.
That's okay. So don't forget to watch the Jumper Punch.
Don't forget, Gosmo has organised a roast for Peter Bazzusto here in Melbourne. Thursday, the 4th of August at 7:30 at Arrow on Swanston, which is at 488 Swanston Street, Carlton. I think it's Carlton, or it might be Melbourne. I'm not sure. Anyway, it's one or the other. I think it might be Carlton.
Details.
Yeah, so details you can find with Goz on his show. I think that's a Bleed Blue for Life, which I think goes to air tomorrow night.
Thursday nights, it was Friday, but
you
now
can
Thursday.
look up YouTube and find him there or on his Facebook page.
Okay, so Vince, thank you very much for joining us.
Pleasure.
Solo man. Beachy, you're the only man I know that's got more bloody nicknames than I've read books. You've got the librarian, the solo man,
Robin,
Sam McClure, Robin. Jeez.
Hang on. Did you come up with Batman because I'm in the Batcave, according to you all?
Well, that's right. As far as I'm concerned, you're Batman. You're in your Batcave, and you're down there in Gotham City.
I'm happy to be.
Vince, just a quick question. Do you know if tickets are still available for that?
Yes,
there are. There are tickets still available, I believe. Goz is the man to ask the questions of. If you go onto his Facebook page, GOZZ, and then Margetta is MARGETA. Otherwise, have a look at his show on YouTube tomorrow night. I'm sure he'll mention it. Bleed Blue for Life. You'll find him there, and he'll probably talk about that and talk about the tickets and how you can get them. And I think there's an email address to send your inquiry to if you want to purchase tickets. I think they're $100 each, 2-course meal and drinks, and there'll be a cast of thousands there in terms of past Carlton greats there to roast the great man who I saw last Sunday at the pre-match function that I hosted at the Cam Field, which is basically about 50 metres from the ground. Fantastic night should be had by all.
Just no car parking at the Camfield, is there, Vince?
Not unless you've pre-booked or you're some sort of VIP, Joe, as I discovered. So I had to go back and park at the Crown Complex at Crown Perth and then walk across, which was about 20 minutes. And that's enough when it's raining. That's enough to make you well and truly drenched.
Anyway, so listen,
that's okay. That was good fun.
So listen,
let me tell you, when you win the game, it doesn't matter if it's raining.
It doesn't matter.
Damn right.
I'll speak to Goz after this, and I'll get him to put up on our website.
Sure. There's still a little bit of time to go. What are we now? The 13th of July. So there's still a good three weeks to go until that night. It's Thursday the 4th. So it's 3 weeks from tomorrow night.
Yeah.
Yep.
All right. So everyone, let's hope that when Vince and Steve talk on Monday night, we'll be talking about a magnificent Carlton victory. But it's good night from me in Bangkok, Chris.
It's good night from me in Melbourne.
And it's good night from them.
All right.
Good night, everyone.
All right. Good night, everyone.
Go Blues.